If you look at their Wikipedia pages, I'm not going to say it. I'm not even going to say it. It's literally just a coincidence. The Republican Civil War has officially begun. For those who don't know, there is currently a huge rift within the political right in America. And honestly, the drama has become pretty fun to watch. Long story short, the conservative movement, the right wing, whatever you want to call it, has become deeply divided between establishment voices and alternative voices. I'm assuming most of you guys know the major names involved, but for those who don't, you'll learn about it in this video. But in the recent months, weeks, and especially these past few days, everyone is going after each other. You hear so much name calling and just insults being thrown around. This guy is this guy is that, this guy said this thing in the past, this guy is anti-this. Just all of those terms you hear carelessly being thrown around all the time without any context or further explanation. But obviously, all of that is
What
useless.
is that?
Name calling is completely useless in my view. It's not only a way to just deflect from the actual arguments at hand,
I don't know. Somebody put this one though.
the real issues that we need to get to the core of. That's why I always try to keep it somewhat professional on this channel. I don't just get emotional and angry and insult people like most people in the political or commentary space do nowadays. Anyways, the purpose of this video is to move past all of that and understand the real core of the issue that's dividing the political right. And it's extremely simple, but also complicated at the same time. In 2025, the Republican Party is divided along one issue and one issue only. That is, whether or not we, as people of America, as tax-paying citizens, should pledge our allegiance to a foreign nation across the ocean. I think you might know which country I'm talking about. One side of the Republican Party wants America to be loyal to that nation in perpetuity, while the other side in recent years has been pushing back and doing so hard. For those who don't know, or even those who do but want to learn a little bit more, here's a brief explanation of how we got to this point.
He's
Late
like
2024,
this guy's
Trump
like
gets elected.
this
In that
guy's
election,
a conservative, but he's trying to give the I don't know, the breakdown, I guess, of the whole divide within the Republicans about whether they should support Israel and stuff. I guess.
election itself was a mandate against wokeness and cancel culture. And in the past year or so, especially due to the cultural atmosphere surrounding the presence of a new Trump administration, a lot of social media companies have been allowing for more free speech on their platforms. Whereas in the past, people would be automatically censored and shut down and deplatformed if they talked about a certain country. A lot of those restrictions seem to be lifted ever since, again, Trump got into office. And within the past year, if you've been on social media, you can easily tell yourself as well that more and more people are starting to talk about this certain country. And slowly but surely, people en masse started to realize basic facts that really surprised them. People started realizing that we, the taxpayers, are giving billions and billions of dollars to that certain country every single year. People started realizing what that country is currently doing with our money, our weapons, and our technological infrastructure. People started realizing just how much power that certain country has over our own political system, donating millions and realizing just how much power that certain country has over our own
322 APAC candidates endorsed. 100% of Democratic candidates are endorsed by them. 193 Republicans. That's interesting. I think there's more than that going on. Endorse. What does endorse mean? It means they're getting funding, or what does that mean? I won the primary election. We have won in every district. APAC endorsed candidates have won their primary election. We have won. 322 APAC endorsed candidates have won their primary election. We won every district with an APAC endorsed candidate.
own political system, donating millions and millions of dollars to our politicians on both sides of the aisle, Democrat and Republican, who then get into office and vote to send billions of your taxpayer dollars back to that country. People also started realizing that many of the previous wars that we fought in the Middle East, that cost hundreds of thousands of lives and trillions of, again, our taxpayer dollars, may not have even been in America's best interest, but rather to promote the interests of that country and their plan for creating their own sphere of influence in the Middle East. Want to get a little crazier? People even started posting theories about how that country may or may not have been involved with or had foreknowledge of certain historical events, like what happened to a certain set of tall buildings or a certain president. And behind all of this, behind all of these ideas, theories, whatever you want to call it, was a controversial individual by the name of Nick, someone who was previously canceled and kicked off of every single major social media platform for talking about these things many years ago. Someone who the entire media ecosystem, and even the Republican Party itself, tried to cancel and delegitimize for years. Again, specifically because he started introducing those ideas about that country that were deemed as too subversive and too dangerous for the mainstream. But within the past year or so, due to expanded freedom of speech on social media platforms, this guy began to win in the battlefield of ideas. His clips clips, instead of being totally banned, started circulating on TikTok, Instagram Reels, even YouTube nowadays. And at the same time, people saw what was going on in Gaza. People saw the pictures, the videos circulating on Twitter and other platforms about the very bad things going on there. Also, another huge event was the war in Iran. So all of that was basically a perfect storm for this guy to gain popularity. He eventually started getting way more viewers on his show, and even breaking into the mainstream, getting articles in the New York Times written about him, and even going on popular podcasts like Dr. Carlson and PBD. And that's why
There's no war in Iran, by the way. That's not a thing.
now the Republican establishment is essentially trying to put him back in the closet, trying to get this guy to shut up, because he's a real threat to their agenda, namely a Zionist agenda that serves to promote the interests of that certain country. And not only him, by the way, a lot of other prominent conservative commentators have grown increasingly critical of Israel within the past.
Kanye has his flaws, but Kanye was right on this. Dude, come on, man. Really? Kanye's a shell, bro. This guy's a shell too, probably, man. What do you think? This is all shillery, bro. Don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about Israel, whether America's funding Israel. It does not affect you. There's nothing you can do about it. If they're funding them, then they will fund them. If they're not, then they won't. There's literally nothing you can do. Alex Wade, this guy's probably a shell.
In the past years or so. Big names like Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, even Charlie Kirk before what happened to him. And that's why now, at this moment in time, the Republican Civil War has broken out. Because the Republican establishment is coming after all of them, all of the anti-Israel voices in the conservative media space. These voices are growing, only getting more amplified. It seems like the average person is getting behind them. And so the pro-Israel, pro-Zionist wing of the party obviously sees that as a huge threat, because Israel has already lost the Democratic Party. Almost everyone on the political left is in solidarity against what that country is doing, and against obviously sending our money to them. So that country is essentially contingent upon the right wing, the Republicans, for continued support from America. A large part of that country's existence hinges on the US taxpayer, as well as the politicians and media voices in the US supporting them. So they know that if they lose the Republican Party, especially the youth that's going to grow up and enter the halls of power within the next few decades, then that country is kind of cooked. They're desperate. They need to shore up the Republican base and have them support Israel. Simple as that. So this brewing conflict on the right is going to get more and more amplified, more and more nasty as time goes on. And we'll just sit back, grab the popcorn, and watch it unfold, hopefully find some entertainment in all this drama. But it is serious, though. And one issue I want to touch upon is that, specifically, it's the neoconservative wing of the Republican Party that is going hard against more populist America First voices. And you hear the term neoconservative thrown around a lot in the political space if you've been following it. But one key point I want to get to, and might blow some people's minds, is what neoconservatism actually is. What it actually means, because a lot of people don't know. Who are these so-called neoconservatives? Where do they originate from? And what even is neoconservatism at the core? A lot of people have a misunderstanding of what neoconservatism actually is. They take it at face value as what it purports to be. Most people think that neoconservative is a general term for any Republican who ideologically supports a hawkish foreign policy and wants America to become more involved in world conflicts. But what if I told you that the entire neoconservative movement, which again nowadays comprises of the people attacking the more populist voices on the right, is actually a front for something deeper? What if I told you that, based on the history, it's been a decades-long, sophisticated, organized operation to leverage America's power and influence to further the interests of that country? Neoconservatism was originally founded in the 1950s and 60s by people who were originally liberal. They were not traditional conservatives. The reason why these liberals at the time decided to break away from the left wing and form their own political ideology was specifically because the political left at the time was becoming anti-Israel. If you know the history, all of this was taking place at a time when there was tremendous conflict in the Middle East. The First Arab-Israeli War, the Six-Day War, the Suez Canal Crisis, the Yom Kippur War, and a lot of people didn't like that. Many people saw the Israelis as settlers and colonialists, which is against left-wing ideology. A lot of people, just like the people today, didn't want America to become involved in these foreign military engagements. And a lot of people made the simple argument that ever since this country was basically just inserted in the Middle East, it turned the whole region into a hotbed of conflict. Again, these were some of the positions of the political left at the time, during the 1950s and 60s. And those pro-Israel liberals decided that they needed to leave the left for good and create their own dogma, which ended up being neoconservatism. These early neocons felt that the political left was an existential threat to the existence of the state of Israel, because it seemed like if America didn't intervene in a serious way, then that country might have a hard time even existing in a region where it's faced against all its enemies. These neoconservatives were standing on business. They were serious about this shit because they saw it as a struggle for their own existence, well, for the existence of Israel.
I don't know. I hate when people do this. Sometimes when people do this, they give you this narrative about, oh, the origin of the neocons. And it's like he's just basically telling you the neocons are just basically supporting Israel, right? Which, of course, that's very popular among neocons. And he's giving you this narrative. I don't know. Like, he's not telling you. He's like, these people, these people who supported Israel, they decided, oh, we better become conservatives or something. Like, dude, do you have any evidence for this? Can you give me some names? Can I read a book about this? Can you tell me, like, you know?
Israel. So it only makes sense that their strategic objective from the very beginning was to secure the state of Israel and its prosperity and safety. And the only way to do that was to either convince or coerce the US government, as well as the American public, that they were our greatest ally, that these Muslim countries in the Middle East that were their enemies were somehow also our enemies, and that we needed to supply them with the military technology and other subsidies in order to protect our greatest ally. So the moral of the story is that at the core, neoconservatism isn't just the broad general idea that America should be involved in all foreign interventions. At least it didn't start that way. The whole movement, the whole ideology was built upon American interventionism on behalf of Israel specifically. That was the true intention of the neoconservatives, even though it was always sort of hidden and belied under the concept of America should be involved in the world in general. But no, it was and always has been all about Israel. And if you just do a little bit of basic research, it's pretty easy to see why. And what I'm about to
So just do a little bit of basic research. And like, dude, why don't you? If you did some basic research, you could just tell me, like, to give me some names and some literal facts that I can confirm, and then I can understand that what you're telling me is true. It says like, just do a little basic research, because he knows that most of like people that listen to politics. People that listen to people like this about politics, quote unquote, right? They need this person to inform them about politics, right? They are not capable of doing basic research on this subject. They're just not. If this guy's the guy who's informing you, giving you information about politics, about what neoconservatism is, then you're not capable of doing basic research. That's why he says do some basic research and not giving you any lead or any way to do it, because he's just giving you a narrative and he's just trying to he expects most of his audience to just believe it,
about to show you now, it's very basic information, but part of me is a little bit paranoid and concerned that saying these kinds of things publicly to a large platform could get me in some kind of trouble or put a target on my back. Maybe I'm crazy, but just to have it on record for all of you guys to know, I would never do anything to myself or put myself in some kind of weird situation. Look at me, I'm not trying to
So
brag, but
this guy's trying to act like he's gonna tell you some crazy thing that he could potentially get suicided for telling you something about Israel. You know what I mean? Dude, stop it, man. This is clearly fake. This guy's a show.
I'm young, happy, healthy. I love my life. I feel like I have a bright future ahead. I love Christ above all. So again, I would never do anything to put myself in danger. But anyways, do yourself a favor. Go on literally
So he's like, oh, I love Christ above all. That's also a lie. That's just a lie. Okay, this guy doesn't love Christ. He's talking about, if you love Christ, you will spend 13 minutes talking about neoconservatism or whatever, or neoconservatives or Israel or whatever. What a joke.
Wikipedia and front page of the internet essentially, and look up neoconservatism for yourself. Now let's do this very simple exercise of going through every single prominent figure or name associated with this movement. Every single one of them. It says prominent neoconservatives in the Bush administration included Paul Wolfowitz, Elliot Abrams, Richard Pearl, Paul Bremer, and Douglas Faith. Now remember, this is the Bush administration. These are the people that got us into the Iraq War, the war in Afghanistan, the war on quote-unquote terror in general, and all the Arab countries in the Middle East. Click on every single one of their names, go into a certain section within their Wikipedia page, and you'll find an interesting pattern. Literally every single one. But I might be wrong. Who knows? Those 5 might have just been a total and complete coincidence. Afghanistan, the war on quote-unquote terror in general, and all the Arab countries in the Middle East. Click on every single one of their names, go into a certain section within their Wikipedia page, and you'll find an interesting pattern. Literally every single one. But I might be wrong. Who knows? Those 5 might have just been a total and complete coincidence. Coincidences happen. So let's look at some more. Again, it's not a conspiracy, it's literally on Wikipedia. The Bush administration's domestic and foreign policies were heavily influenced by Bernard Lewis, Lulu Schwartz, Richard and Daniel Pipes, David Horowitz, and Robert Kagan. Now, in case you were wondering what happens when you click on every single one of their names and scroll to a certain section on their Wikipedia page, you'll also find that, in case you were wondering, yes, they are. But you know what? How about that's all just a coincidence? We're just crazy coincidence theorists, right? Let's go back in time and look at the very people who helped popularize this ideology in the first place, who actually made it gain traction as a larger movement in the United States. It says, the movement had its intellectual roots in the magazine Commentary, edited by Norman Podhoretz. Need I say more? What about the person who was behind it all, who founded it all? His name is Irving Kristol, and you can see for yourself, I don't have to say anything. Now, looking at all this, there are two obvious logical conclusions that you could possibly come to. Either the entire neoconservative movement has been an organized operation from the beginning to weaponize American politics in order to further the interests of a certain country and its chosen people, or everything's just a crazy statistical coincidence. Just for the record, I think it's a coincidence, by the way, and I think you're kind of crazy if you, think there's some kind of connection there. It's totally just a coincidence that they all happen to be, and all happen to have ties to, because if you think it's not a coincidence, then you're anti-Semitic. Oh, and in case you were also wondering, even in 2025, who specifically are the biggest voices speaking up against people like Nick, Tucker, Candace, and really anyone who doesn't want our taxpayers funding what they're doing right now? It's neoconservatives like Ben Shapiro, Mark.
See how he's like, oh, it's Tucker, Candace, like Tucker and Candace, their shows too, right? So it's just like they're just trying to tell everybody that, oh, those are the guys you could trust if you stop trusting the Jews or whatever, or like Israel or whatever it is, right? If you're into that now, go into that funnel. Those are the people you should listen to. Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson. What a joke.
Mark Levin, Laura Loomer, Josh Hammer, Bari Weiss, and if you look at their Wikipedia pages, fuck it, I'm not gonna say it. I'm not even gonna say it. It's literally just a coincidence. It's just a coincidence.
Thing is, like practically any political movement in America, you could kind of do that. You could kind of like just find a ton of people who are Jewish who are at the top of it and moving it, whether it's on the left or on the right. That's usually the case, because that's just how it is, man. They're smart, they're into politics. That's the culture of America, So yeah, you could go into the communist movement, go into socialist, go into like stuff like that. You're gonna find a bunch of Jews. Okay, you are 100%. And you check their Wikipedia in the early life section. That's what this guy's doing. A lot of what he's doing here is dropping these little. They call them dog whistles. Like, oh, check the early life section in their Wikipedia, guys. You know what that means? Wink, wink. That's what they're doing. That's what this guy's doing. This is all manipulation. This is 100% manipulation.
I know that was a little bit of a tangent, but I really wanted to get to the root of the problem on the right that's causing this huge rift, this huge divide within the entire conservative movement, and could threaten to fracture the entire Republican Party. For those of you who might not even be on the right, well, I hope you learned something new. I hope you enjoy this feud. Get your popcorn out, like I said, because this stuff, not gonna lie, is pretty entertaining to watch the back and forth between these big name political commentators if you're interested in that kind of stuff. But for the people like myself who, in some sense at least, would consider themselves on the political right, I'm not gonna sit here and say specifically which side to pick within this so-called civil war. I don't agree with a lot of what people like Nick say. I obviously don't agree with the Ben Shapiros of the world, but I will leave you with a simple question. Who is America and who is America first in all this at the end of the day? Well, to answer that question, we have to go back to what America actually represents. Because in 1776, the Founding Fathers declared independence and literally fought a war over the fact that we were being forced to give our taxpayer dollars to a small foreign nation across the ocean. I think it says everything that in 2025, we're still being
This is so dumb. Like, when they start pulling out that stuff.
To answer that question, we have to go back to what America actually represents. Because in 1776, the Founding Fathers declared independence and literally fought a war over
when they do this, when they show you this, this thing, 1776, guys, we fought a war to stop sending money to a country overseas. Like, it's the same exact thing as the neocons trying to get us to support Israel. Like, the exact same thing, guys. We have to fight a revolution. Fight the revolution against the Jews.
For the fact that we were being forced to give our taxpayer dollars to a small foreign nation across the ocean. I think it says everything that in 2025, we're still being forced to give our taxpayer dollars to a small foreign nation across the ocean. And if that pisses you off, if that makes you feel a certain way, then I think the answer to that question should be pretty clear. As always, thank you so much for watching. This was, again, a little bit of a different video than my usual ones, as it was originally just meant to cover this drama, but ended up taking a turn and becoming like a deep dive video into a specific topic. But hope you learned something new.
It just happened to end up into this deep dive into this particular subject where, we're trying to get you to go listen to Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, who are clearly on a specific program to demonize Jews and stuff. It just happened that I just happened to, get into a deep dive. Like, dude, this is so manipulative and fake. utterly fake and gay, dude. I swear, these people, man. Think I'm dumb. Think I'm dumb? Think I'm dumb, buddy? Yeah, Ron Paul is chill, of course, man. They're all shills, dude. At that level, they're all shills, bro. But I get why you're a Ron Paul supporter. I get it. Like if I didn't believe in Jesus, I'd be an anarchist or whatever, libertarian or whatever that is, you know. But I do believe in Jesus, so you know. Carlson Trump, and cancel get us out of this. Hilarious. But yeah, this guy's a shill, bro.
Okay. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 Studying the Bible with Mike and Pat. These other YouTubers are just so trash. Hit the thumbs up if you wanna support. Go follow Mike as he follows the Lord. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 You better watch out, Mike's calling out the shills. If you're not free grace, you need to sit down and chill. We're not hyper grace, you know we keep it real. Eternally secure, you know that we're sealed. We don't back low, we're not workspace heretics. Mike's not in it for the money, trying to get a lick. They out here selling their souls for a couple clicks. Becoming Freemasons so they can't just get rich. I'm studying the Bible in Toronto. 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 Shout out to Mike and Pat. Check out his channel, Toronto Bible Study. Subscribe and like.